Yo, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good brunch, good midnight snack, g'day, mate. Welcome to 7 Days of Flesh and Blood with Chris Bewley, with me, Chris Bewley. This week, an awesome, amazing guest. Oh, man, I'm out of breath because I'm so excited. We have one of the kindest, coolest dudes that you have ever met in your life. The mastermind, the genius, the visionary behind Flesh and Blood Tabletop Simulator mod. That's right. Kenny Michael is here with us at the 7 Days of Flesh and Blood studio. Yes. Last time we told you that we blew the budget, we did. So we got another budget, and we blew that too. I got a new computer. It's the size of a fucking matchbook, and it's real slow. So that's the cause of the delay. Better late than never. So enjoy this week's interview with Kenny Michael, the man, the myth, the legend. Kenny, thank you so much for coming on 7 Days in Flesh and Blood this week. We have had a few... Oh, brother, really. Right now with this sort of mini interview series, there are a lot of extremely key, amazing, and important in our community. But like I've said to you once, twice, or...
a couple times now, I think.
I believe with all of my heart, soul, all of the flesh, and all of the blood that is within me, that you are the most popular, appreciated, and coolest dude in Flesh and Blood right now. So today, we're going to find out why. Who are you, and how has your last 7 days in Flesh and Blood been?
It's a good question. So my last 7 days in Flesh and Blood has been fraught with panicked messages from tournament organisers and lots of modding of TTS, as you'd probably imagine. I haven't played as much, although I did get I got my first Arcane Rising box sent to me, actually. I played a winner box just a week, 2 weekends ago. And I had that box come to me on, when was it? On Tuesday, which was pretty good.
So you won a box?
That's right, I won with I posted up the articles recently with the Go-Go Power Ranger deck. So I won with that, which was good.
Yeah. And that's right. I think I first did our first private conversation. Now, sometimes my short-term memory eludes me. But
right.
Did I say to you, like, oh man, are you the guy that created Metrics Daily? Did I say that to you?
Was it? No, you might have. Yeah, I do remember, like, you'd sent the first message and you were asking about something about Metrics Daily. I was like, nope, that wasn't me. And that was pretty much the extent of our conversation.
Yeah, well, to close that convo, I think I say, but wait a minute, you are the TTS guy, right?
I am the TTS guy. That's right.
Actually, I'm going to jump to question 3 right now.
Yeah, that's all right.
Let's mix it together. What is TTS? What is your involvement in TTS? And can you tell us just a little bit about who you are and your background?
Yeah, sure. All right. Well, why don't I start with that so we get a bit more context? So my name's Kenny. I've been a gamer for well over half my life now. Started when I was 9 years old with Yu-Gi-Oh! Went through Yu-Gi-Oh!, Duel Masters, Magic.
We got to start it somewhere, bro.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. Actually, I probably started with Pokemon cards when I was 5 years old, but really properly when I was 9 with Yu-Gi-Oh! Played pretty much every LCG under the sun. Played a few miniatures games too. I've been competitive in a lot of them, so I've won the national championships for Hero Clicks, for Star Wars LCG, Call of Cthulhu. I've been on the Pro Tour for Magic once, which was nice. I was national champion for World of Warcraft TCG. So quite a few games I've done reasonably well in.
Quite a pedigree, my bro.
Yeah.
Like, I was I was entertaining and self-embellishing the idea. Oh, we've got quite a bit in common. You studied way more Korean language than me, and I study that. I'm an English teacher now, and you have done that, and now you're doing even more detailed speech pathology type of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that the Korean and the English teaching is where we kind of stop being so similar because, bro, your track record in games is pretty good.
I
How
mean,
did the Fab stuff come in?
so the Fab stuff came in last year when the calling came to Sydney. I've actually known James White for quite a long time, not super closely, but as like a family friend. So when I knew that he was bringing out a game and there was a big tournament in Sydney, I figured, why not give it a go? And honestly, I thought at worst it'd be supporting James for the weekend and also potentially having some fun and maybe even earning some cash prizes. But after the tournament on the weekend, I think there were a couple people in the top 8 at least who I thought was similar, where they were just playing for funsies. But yeah, exactly right. But by the end of it, pretty much everyone who played seemed really hooked, and we're all still around. We're all still playing. So that's where I come in. I played that one tournament, and I haven't really stopped since then.
It seems to be the case with every single human that has started playing Flesh and Blood. That's awesome.
It's really sticky. Like a lot of people just play and then don't stop. More so than I've seen with many other games that I've played as well, where we kind of have players who come in and out, but Flesh and Blood, everyone has kind of stuck with it.
Yeah, I like the word that you used there, sticky, something that's going to stay around for a while. Other games I have played in the past, tried to get into, I would play it and then I would have to create or justify a reason why I continue to play it. Why do you think Flesh and Blood is different in that aspect to these other games?
Well, I think there's a few things. So Flesh and Blood, first off, is kind of made to be a competitive TCG, and you can really feel that in kind of the prizes and tournament structures out there. I think for a while, like there haven't been many games apart from like the big ones like Magic, Pokemon, etc., that really have that competitive structure. A lot of the Fantasy Flight LCGs do try and do that, but ultimately there aren't really prizes and competition to be sought after. Like even then you go to World Championships and there's sometimes 30 people for the game. It doesn't have that same competitive feel. But Flesh and Blood does. And that, while a lot of people might not like that like heavy prize structure as people might think it attracts the worst in people, at the same time, it does create a really good competitive atmosphere. And Flesh and Blood, being so skill-based and skill-intensive, is the perfect game for that because everyone can just practice and play and have lots of fun, but also still try and be really competitive.
Yeah, it's a different type of fun, I find. Achieving these goals through whatever your competitive lane or highway might be. It's a different type of fun.
Yeah,
hey,
definitely.
So let's talk about last weekend. We're talking about competitive Flesh and Blood. We're talking about before we go back to the weekend. Can you tell us a little now
about TTS?
About TTS, it's obviously you're an awesome dude, but give us more about TTS and your connection to TTS.
Yeah, sure. So TTS, or Tabletop Simulator, for those who aren't very familiar with it, is basically just an online platform for people to play board games. It's similar, I guess, in some sense to like Walking Simulator and all of that, where they're just simulators. But Tabletop Simulator is quite a more serious one, and they really did try and make it so it was a platform to play board games. My association with it is I'm a little bit of a game designer. I haven't really published anything successfully, but I've just used it to try and play around and make custom components and that kind of thing in the past. And so I'm a little bit familiar with the interface. Not a genius with it or anything, but I understand how to make things. And then when obviously COVID-19 happened and all of the game stores were shutting down, I knew that Flesh and Blood was really going to have difficulty maintaining that idea of meeting in the flesh and blood that James always talks about. And so after trying Untap and thinking it was god awful, it was not great. I think I crashed out 3 times in the first 10 minutes of me playing. I decided
That's on
to.
a computer, not even a Chris Bewley computer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, I've got this new gaming laptop and it just crashed out on it. And so I decided to spend a couple of hours hopefully making the TTS mod. And now we've had like 200 or something subscribers or something like that. People are playing daily. There's always people on it. Like, there's heaps of friends that I've made through it who I can just see playing day in, day out, which is, I think I said somewhere in one of the groups that it was probably one of the most rewarding things I've done this year, actually, which was really cool.
Yeah. I don't know. On behalf of the whole community, just genuinely thank you for making this Tabletop Simulator mod. I genuinely believe, and you told me something a little bit different, but I genuinely believe that you are the savior.
Well, I think what I said to that was, I'm sure that if I hadn't done it, someone would have done something similar.
Yeah,
like, yeah. But, I'll take it.
Yeah, I think you should take that one. So wow, yeah. Now jumping around the timeline a little bit, just before we come to last weekend, the questions, queries, and controversies, or is it controversy? I don't know. Does anyone know a link?
I say controversy. I think some people say controversy. Whatever.
What would you and I know about words?
That's right.
Anyway,
it's not like we do it for our jobs.
Bro, believes me that I teach academic English. Anyway, why did you decide to become a bit of a game designer? You told us your extensive and successful background in all these games. How did you go from there to being the savior of flesh and blood?
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I guess with the game designer thing that you were talking about there, the main reason I decided to become a game designer was because I find just generally games really fascinating. Just the way that certain things are represented in games. I'll get to that when I talk about my favorite hero later on. But just the idea of translating real world experiences into game mechanisms, and also just creating like really interesting and really interesting, difficult puzzles for people to solve over and over again. I love using my brain. I love going through all the mental gymnastics that are involved in playing games. So I kind of wanted to be able to create my own experiences for other people as well, and to share the experiences that I love in games with other people.
Man, I love that, brother. When I hear that word experience and sharing, it can only, well, it could possibly, it might only be a very good thing.
Yeah, I think there's some experiences that are not supposed to be shared, but hopefully that's not this. This is fine.
Yeah. Hey, bro, so next question. Let's do it now. I don't really know, but what happened last weekend, step by step? What were you thinking? What were you feeling? And where are we now?
Right. So what happened was, I think I outlined it very specifically, but I'll just go over it somewhat broadly, I guess. I got a message from Logan, who was supposed to run the Road to Nationals. I keep calling it Return, but Road to Nationals.
They will return.
They will return. It's a return to the Road of Nationals. But he was supposed to run it on the Saturday. And I got a message from him, and Sasha was actually in the chat too, and someone else who I didn't know, saying that they'd found an exploit in the team.
Heard of him anyway.
Yeah, who's that guy? And they said they'd found an exploit in the system. So I was just kind of hanging around watching I think I was watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I went, all right, better check this out. And so I jumped in, and I figured, like, TTS was it's just a table, ultimately, right? If someone had found an exploit, it was possible. And I looked at it, and given how easy the particular exploit was, and it is out there a little bit as to what it is now, effectively, what it was people could save objects and then load them into a separate instance of TTS. And then because you'd save your opponent's deck, you would load in exactly the same way, and you could just you could just see the order. So at best, you would be able to know all the cards in your opponent's deck. At worst, and it was the worst, is you'd know all the cards and the order of the deck. So that was something which obviously we wanted to prevent. But unfortunately, on the night, I wasn't able to find any particular way within the original mod I had made to get that sorted. So Logan and I, we chatted for maybe 2.5 hours. I called up some of my software programmer friends to try and see what I could do, because I don't code. A lot of the TTS stuff doesn't require coding. It's just understanding how to use the program. But we couldn't get it sorted, and so Logan made the call. And I'd like to stress that it was Logan that made the call, not me. I put up a lot of alternatives of ways he could mitigate it, but he definitely made the call to call off the tournament. So that was that. And then the
very difficult call to make.
It was a difficult call. I was talking to him about it, and I was saying, because obviously there'd been a little bit of angst and controversy about the Road to Nationals within the groups beforehand. And I just was saying to him, look, like it's just another thing on top of that. I feel like cancelling it is going to be a big call, definitely. Like, I could see, as long as everyone is aware of the fact that the exploit existed, I could see them trying to push it ahead, but I don't disagree with the call that was made. Like, ultimately,
bro, I think I think it's definitely the right choice. It's very similar to just better safe than sorry. Don't rush sort of things, you know. If people, like you said, if people know, or if people knew what was going on, which they did, like, oh, okay, if this person wants to, they can go through my whole deck and know what I'm going to do. But no one wants that, so it seems very clear. It's the best of a shitty situation. Let's just stamp it out and go back to it when we're absolutely fully ready. And that sounds like what's going on.
That's exactly it. Too. And then so then it was on Saturday, so just a couple of days ago. But yeah, that's right. It was only 3 days ago that this happened. It seems like so long ago already. But on Saturday, I spoke to James about it, and then I kind of got straight to work and tried to fix it. And so I ended up coming up with an alternative mod where it resolves a whole new mod. Yeah. So it hasn't been publicly released yet. I've just tested it with a group of 8 people, and I've shared it with 1 or 2 people. Sorry, say again?
I saw a photo. This consists more than one table.
That's exactly it. So effectively, there's just 8 people who will be playing at the same time in the mod. It's the 8 people who did play in that playtest said it was no different than playing in the other mod, apart from the background looks a little bit different. You don't even realize that other players are at the table or anything like that.
And you flip 4 tables at the same time.
That's exactly it. Although, unfortunately, I did have to disable the table flip for that particular table, just in case people got a little bit annoyed.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do, I guess.
Exactly. But the good news was that the test ran smoothly. All 8 players were able to stay in the game for the whole time and play Flesh and Blood, and no one was able to use the exploit. So hopefully, we've at least got that exploit stamped out.
Awesome. Bro, you're an absolute machine. And how much do they pay you to make these constant changes, updates, and modifications to your mod?
No one pays me anything. I just do it. Like, I figured, I started off doing it. I understand the mod. I love the game. So I figure, why not continue supporting it? So, and that will continue. I can't promise forever, of course, but you know, if we're still in the COVID-19 pandemic and we can't do face-to-face when set 3 rolls around, then you can trust that set 3 will be uploaded to TTS as well. And TTS will effectively still be available until the day comes that LSS asks us to take it down. Because I do know that their original intention was to keep it in the Flesh and Blood, but until then it will stay up.
Well, let's have a look at that sort of question. You know, this show is world renowned as 7 days and 7 questions. But, you know, deep into the series, the questions seem to be blending all together. Yeah. Here is one. What do you think the role, this is a very open question, what do you think the role of your Flesh and Blood TTS app will be when the time comes for us to play face-to-face in the Flesh and Blood again?
Yeah, well, ultimately, playing in the Flesh and Blood is very important because obviously people love the face-to-face interaction, and board games are ultimately quite social. TTS is never supposed to be a replacement for that, so it's not supposed to be an online tournament software or anything like that. Instead, it's for people who either want to jam out games at 12 o'clock at night with other people around the world who happen to be available at that time, or it's also for people who don't actually have local game stores or local playgroups, because yeah, like it's a fantastic game, and there have been quite a few people who have actually messaged me privately and said, "Are you keeping this mod up? Because I actually don't have anyone to play with locally. Like I live in a rural area, and I'm the nearest store. I think someone said the nearest store to me that sells it is like 100 miles away or something like that. So
it's crazy. Yeah. Like, you're in Sydney, is that right?
I actually live in the Central Coast, so Sydney is about an hour south.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I was thinking like, here in New Zealand, pretty small. So when we want to play, when we find a place to play, there are definitely other people in the same boat.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Australia, a little bit bigger, but still pretty close to town centers and things like that. Of course, the game is expanding rapidly, and massively thanks to your hard work. But yeah, not all countries are as fortunate as Australia and New Zealand to have a lot of game shops really close by. So again, thanks, brother, for your work helping people in the rural, remote areas have a game.
Not a worry at all. Gaming's really important for that too. Like, it's good for them to be able to feel connected to other people and have something to pass the time as well. And Flesh and Blood's a great way to do that.
I agree. Hey, yeah, I'd probably, surprise, surprise, Chris Bewley, 1996 classic strategy talk over top of you. Sorry. What was that summary of what's going to happen to the app when we're face to face again?
So I'm going to keep the app around as long as LSS allows it to be around. I suspect that the role of the app will end up being for play testing. So obviously, sometimes you won't have all of the physical cards, but you might want to try out a new class before you decide to track down all the cards. And so rather than going in the old school of proxying up old Magic lands or anything like that, you can just jam out 100 games on TTS or whatever you would like and do all the modifications. So I suspect it will stay around unless I get asked to take it down. And I think its role will shift more towards either connecting people who can't play otherwise or just as a playtest mechanism for other people.
That's cool. And I believe it will be around in one form or another. Yeah.
I'm hoping so. I put some work into it.
Oh, man. Honestly, the gratitude's just overflowing. Hey, who is your favorite hero of all of Flesh and Blood, and why?
Into some actual Flesh and Blood questions.
Yeah, well, I'm about to run out of battery, so we should probably start talking.
Fair enough. So it used to be Rhinar, actually. So I always like underdog heroes. I actually thought I hated Rhinar initially because of all the random discard and die rolls. I like things that are a bit more consistent. But I actually found that Rhinar's playstyle in Welcome to Wraith rewarded you for being very clever about it. With the exception of the die roll, of course, that you can't really control. But even then, it was still, do I roll it this turn? Do I not? There were decisions to be made.
Yeah, there's a lot of strategy to that dice than people give it credit for.
Oh, yeah.
Not the roll. When to roll it.
When to roll is really big. The discard random, like trying to play around and mitigate that, is a big part of playing Rhino as well. But he used to be my favorite. So my favorite now is actually Azalea, by far. I love the theme of loading arrows into the arsenal. It just feels so rich. And whereas with Rhino, I feel like, when I'm playing Rhino, I go great. There are turns where I kind of sit back and do nothing, but then there'll be a turn here or there where I go absolutely crazy. Azalea, I feel like a mastermind every turn I play. Loading up arrows, drawing cards, using her ability to flip into plunder runs or other reload things. It's just, there's so much opportunity for me to feel really clever. So that's why I really like Azalea.
Wow, that's a great answer. I love how in Ranger you get to do a lot of stuff, and even like the place where the flavor and the actual mechanics of the game, the place where they converge is so great.
It's fantastic.
top, flip it, put it. It feels like you're loading an arrow. It's fucking awesome.
There have been so many games as well where I've like managed to end the game with like a knock the death whistle into headshot with dominate, and it just feels so cool to think about that.
Yeah.
Like just loading the kill shot on top.
Yeah, yeah. You said earlier about sort of why you like games with experiences and stories and things like that. I can see why you like Ranger and the way that it plays out.
It was just amazing the first time I played it. I thought I was really going to like Dash, but because Dash was so popular, again, I went with the kind of the underdog thing, where I went for the one that I felt like wasn't as outright popular, and that was Azalea, and I'm glad I did.
So who's your favorite right now then? Dorinthia?
Azalea. Definitely Azalea. But yes, I was going to say, I do feel as though Dorinthia is a little bit underrepresented. She was actually the first hero I played in a tournament. At the Calling Sydney, I played Dorinthia all the way to the top 8, and then I played Rhina, and that was where that started.
Oh, man. That's amazing, eh? The connections that we make to memories and our favorites.
Oh, cool absolutely.
Stuff. Hey, here's another quick question. Who is going to win Revenge of the Return to the Road to National?
Well, clearly it's the Sith, right? That's who's going to win the Revenge of the Return. No. It really depends on who enters, of course, but I'd like to back some local players. So Hayden Dale, I think, is pretty well known.
Oh, you cannot claim Hayden. He's Christchurch, bro.
Hey,
Hayden, don't listen to him. Don't listen to him.
He is an RC crew local. Like, Hayden and I have extremely close games whenever we play. He's a very, very thorough player. Every single turn I play against him, like, he can't see me on TTS, but I'm just sitting here and I'm just shaking and sweating. The other player I'd like to back is one of my good friends, Roy. Roy's been playing Ninja since pretty much the start. I remember he played in the first Calling, was 0-5 as Katsu in the Calling, but has stuck with it since then. And I say to Roy every single time I play him that he makes the game extremely stressful, in a good way. Like, it's just he knows his deck really well. He plays really tight. He's a very good player. So I'd like to back either Roy if he does play, or Hayden if he does play.
I can agree with this Hayden stuff. He used to abuse me and make fun of me and mock me every time we tested Magic together. So good luck, Hayden. I hope you win. Everyone's going for you. And Roy, all the best to Roy also. We'll finish up with this one. You know, those 10-minute phone calls turn into, wow, it's a long one.
Yeah,
but
I imagine.
What are your thoughts? Oh, this is a big one. But what are your thoughts on the Flesh and Blood community in general? And do you have any advice for the heroes out there?
So I think the Flesh and Blood community in general is very welcoming. One of the most welcoming gaming communities I've been a part of, for sure. Everyone's very dedicated because, like, everyone has the heroes that they love, but also everyone just sticks around and plays lots and lots of games. Overall, it's great. People are creating content. People are trying to respond to the calls for gameplay videos or coverage or things like that. I really don't see much of, I guess, even the competitive level toxicity that exists in some other games. As I said,
amazing.
The competitiveness is kind of ingrained within the game itself. I don't think many people play just casually. People are all like trying to play good decks and work it out, but everyone's happy to support everyone and talk about what's the best and what's not, and just jam really tight, really good games together. So it's really fantastic to see. I love the community. Advice for the community, I guess, or advice for heroes out there would be, I feel like I'm just echoing Matt from last week, but find the heroes that you love and play them a lot. Learn the ins and outs of them. I've played 20 or 30 games with Azalea so far, and I feel like every 2 or 3 games, I feel like there's something I find and can change. And every single time I play, I feel like I get better. Like, I feel like I'm a much better player with her than I was 30 games ago. And even though I think I'm quite a confident gamer generally, I don't think I could play, say, a warrior deck as well as someone who'd been playing it since day one. So really learn the classes that you're playing. It makes a huge difference. And play to have fun. The game is great, and it's always really enjoyable. So anytime you want a game, hit me up.
Right, that's amazing. Hey, again, just want to say just on behalf of all of the team here at 7 Days of Blood, thank you so much for all of your absolute thankless, hard, monotonous, probably very fucking annoying, incredible work that you have done on the mod for TTS. And again, genuinely believe that without the things that you have done for us as a community, we would not be in the flourishing, vibrant Flesh and Blood family that we have now. So thank you.
You're
so
very
much.
welcome. That makes it worth it anyway. Not the thanks, but just people playing and enjoying the mod. That's the most important bit. I think the phone has probably dropped or something.
What do you say?
You disappeared. So you froze and then you disappeared. I can hear you.
Ugh. Oh, how about no? Oh wait, is it facing?
Yep, there we go. Yep, there we go.
Okay, we're recording again. I'm gonna just start. How does my hair?
Yeah, you're fine.
Beautiful. Getting a bit hot. All right. Right. Sorry. Along with my completely destroyed computer, which I'm having a new one coming tomorrow. This Apple iPhone, which I don't know how to use at all. Sorry, iPad.
We've had a few technical problems.
Ran out of battery. Anyway, I was in the middle of just saying thank you so much, not only for helping me with downloading Skype and Zoom and Teams and all sorts of different shit that we didn't use any of in the end, but of course all of the work that you have done and do for the community. So thank you so much.
Not a worry at all. As I'm not sure if it got cut off, but I was saying, look, it's people playing and enjoying the game on it that really makes it its own reward. So that's all fine. You're very welcome.
Well, take care, and I know that we will be hearing and seeing a lot more of you in the very near future.
Oh, absolutely. I never shut up. So I'm sure you'll hear from me a fair bit.
Awesome, all right, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you soon.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.